Ms Bath.
President, I'm rise to make my contribution on the so-called tough bail bill of 2025. And my very esteemed former leader and my mentor and someone I've looked up to has always said, Peter Walsh has always said, if you're explaining something, if you have to explain it in the title, you're failing, you're losing. If you have to explain it overly, the government is trying to explain this bill by saying it's really, really tough. And also, just when I think about this, and it's like, I said taking another path at the moment, but there was a thing called the fast train. They called the fast train, and then it got to be the slightly faster train. I feel like this is one of those examples where the government is trying to convince the community that they're doing the work. Now, they've been in for 10 years. This government in November has been in for 10 years. Daniel Andrews and now Premier Jacinta Allan, 10 years. 10 years to get it right, and we've heard my colleague and others, Mr Mulholland, talk about those on the other side, the government members, talking about getting it right and that we don't want to just, introduce something that's undercooked. Well, this is undercooked. This bill is rushed. This bill is the result of pressure from polls. It is not considered that the population, Victorians, are under significant pressure, significant concern and significant safety issues for their own well-being over the past 10 years. This is a rushed and flawed bill. Now, the Liberals and Nationals, the Nationals will not be opposing this flawed bill because in its flawed state, it is still better than what we have today. But we will also be moving amendments in Committee of the Whole to improve this flawed bill. And I want to just talk a little bit about the bill. And we got the bill, when was it? Was it Monday night at about 6 o'clock? I think our Shadow Minister, Michael O'Brien, got hold of it. We had on Tuesday at about, when was it? Again, early, 10:30, we saw a bill briefing. That is no way to run a government. That is no way to respect both the Liberals and Nationals, the opposition, or the crossbenchers. The proposition that you can dump something and then just agree with us, convince us attitude is unwelcome, and it's unparliamentary and it's undemocratic. And so I just want to talk a little bit about the bill that we saw back then, all of 2 days ago. The bill will amend the Bail Act 1977 and the Summary Offences Act, and it will introduce 2 bail offences: to commit an indictable offence whilst on bail for inclusion in the Bail Act and contravene conduct condition of the bail in the Summary Offences Act. And it incorporates offences into Schedule 1 that were previously in Schedule 2, and I just want to put these on record: armed robbery, aggravated burglary. By goodness, aggravated burglary across the state in the last 10 years is going to frightening proportions, absolutely frightening proportions. And I'll read some stats in from my own Eastern Victoria electorate that I hold no joy in sharing with this House. Home invasions, again, increased over time. Carjacking, we've heard some terrible stats on those, and the stats are actually out today, the crime stats. I haven't had time to go through them, but that's right. They are rising in all the wrong direction for our safety of our humans in this state. It's also going to incorporate additional offences into Schedule 2, and these will be to satisfy the bail decision maker that a compelling reason exists to justify the grant of bail in serious firearms offences, serious arson, and committing an offence involving a controlled weapon, now including machetes, because the government again has saw fit under pressure overwhelmingly from the community, overwhelmingly from the Liberals and Nationals, to finally put machetes in that the prohibited weapons, and also motor vehicle theft. What it doesn't do is a number of things. It doesn't include serious offences such as arson. It doesn't include, they will not face a tougher bail test. It doesn't include serious offences such as burglary. And aren't we seeing that more and more on the rise? When my colleague and I, Martin Cameron, went for a walk, as we do from time to time, around Morwell, the streets of Morwell the other day, beautiful Morwell that I have shopped at and visited and know friends there for so many years. The St Vinny's, the St Vinny's open, useful, supporting the community, putting funds back into the community. The manager there, Dion, spoke to us about how again and again people are walking in, acting with impunity, creating huge disturbance, being antisocial, and then just filling their bags, whatever, and walking out time and time again, and these people fear for their safety. This isn't an anomaly, this is happening time and time again. Burglary, robbery is in that same boat. They are not listed in Schedule 1 or 2 for offences, meaning alleged offenders receive a presumption of bail and the weakest test to receive. This so-called tough bail test for repeat offenders is not in the bill. So the offence of committing an indictable offence whilst on bail is being reinstated, but it will have no impact on raising the test for bail. Surely, if you've committed an indictable offence, surely if you're a repeat offender, surely if you're known and you're rotating through the system, surely that should be a trigger for a tougher test for bail. But no, not in this bill. The offence of breaching bail conditions is being reinstated, but in a weakened form, as contravention will not result in the offender facing a stronger bail test. And people under the age of 18 face no criminal sanction for breaching bail conditions, undermining the reason why bail conditions are imposed in the first place. And I want to talk more about youth offenders and something that's been happening in this state for such a long time. Sadly, in our patch, I see Mr. Borman's in the electorate in the House for Eastern Victoria region, again indicative across the state, but we're seeing the ravages of rising crime, and this is a backflip, has certainly come too late. Let us look at some of the stats. Because it is not just a centralised Melbourne impact, it is happening in country Victoria. In Eastern Victoria, in the past 10 years, assault is up 23.4%. Aggravated burglary, as we've talked about, in my region is up 200%. 200%. This shows the desperation of those committing those burglaries, but it also shows that there has to be repeat offenders who are acting throughout the system, getting bail and going through and acting, feeling as though they are invincible and working in that theft and burglary. Motor vehicle thefts up 100% in my region. Family violence, again, this is a terrible statistic, up 63%. There are victims at the end of every one of these statistics. And I could go through. Latrobe, in terms of crime, up almost 13%. Bass Coast, up almost 24%. Borbor, up 38%. A growing and beautiful area. South Gippsland, up 100%. Cardinia, 46%. East Gippsland is up almost 50%, and Wellington Shire. And we've seen time and time again examples, and I related many of these in the bail, in the Machetes terrorism bill, so I won't repeat, other than to say that unfortunately beautiful Traralgon, again a place that I know and love very well, is making the charts for all the wrong reason. Over the weekend, it was reported that locals in Traralgon already know, they know this, they know what's happening, that the town is becoming one of the worst in the state for youth crime, along with Melbourne CBD, Frankston, Tarneit, Truganina, Bendigo, and I know my colleague Gail Broad has raised the issues happening in Bendigo on multiple occasions, and Mildura. Again, my good colleague Jade Benham is doing her work there to highlight these issues and call for additional police resources into our regions. And again, of course, we see the need for more PSOs in regional Victoria as well. And boys from 15 to 17 are an alarming rise in this space. No one wants to be the parent of a child who's gone off the rails. No one wants to be like a mother, and I'm going to read this article very shortly. She's actually saying we need these tougher bail laws. We need to see this happening because something has to stop her son from being out on the street committing crimes. Something has to bring him in. Something has to turn his life around. This cannot go on. And although the bill includes some of the provisions for youth offenders, many in the community certainly feel that it does not go far enough, and we agree with them. They argue that more needs to be done to deter young offenders. Here's a parent, and it was in the 9 News article, March 17, 2025, this last few days ago, a parent of repeat offenders. And I'm quoting from this. For parents looking to control their children for the first time, there was nowhere to turn. And Kate is classified as her name in the article. What I went through at the time was so isolating, and I was so ashamed. She watched her son get bail over and over again in a never-ending cycle. The son was preparing to attend court on his 18th birthday. When I started, I was pleading with him to be locked up. That's a parent who loves her child, was pleading to be locked up. She goes on to talk about once they're in Parkville, there's no rehabilitation, there's no programs in place. My son gets to choose if he wants to go to school, he gets to choose what classes he likes to go to, he gets to swim in the pool, he gets to go to the gym. There is not enough being done in here, and I feel it's an absolute waste of time. And I just want to reiterate that in terms of the frustration that these parents must feel, and we've heard comments certainly in the space of our First Nations youth and indeed our multicultural youth. All Victorian youth deserve to have a good chance of life. We know that early intervention can make a huge difference. We know that prevention can make a significant difference. We know that diversion therapies, and that always sounds a little bit soft, but there can be some tremendous diversion therapies. And what are we seeing under 10 years of Labor? We're seeing escalating youth crime. Now, there's a fantastic organisation that is self-funded, philanthropically funded in Latrobe Valley. So on one hand, we've got youth crime getting out of control, and we've got another example where people are doing amazing work with amazing results. And I want to do a shout out to this small number of people, and it's called Mountain Track, and it's out the back of I'm trying to think where it is, but past Churchill. I've forgotten the name of the specific location, but Mountain Track connects and engages with young people in the Latrobe Valley who most need the support and are likely to end up incarcerated without intervention. They provide hope, they engage, they provide skills, they organise diversionary activities, they support personal development, they provide learning, training, work experience, employment opportunities, they help people connect, feel self-worth. This is a fantastic initiative. And guess how much government subsidy it gets? Nothing. Zero, nil. These are fantastic things that we see. We also have seen the important work that our police are doing, police in schools, also an incredibly important issue and action and activity that occurred very widely between 2010 and 2014 that's been cut back. And we also shout out to the Vic Pol in my region. Speaking only recently to Vic Pol, they lament the fact that they must do the paperwork, they have to do, and they respect that. But as they're walking in to do the paperwork, to put someone, charge someone, that someone, and often youth, but not always, is walking out the door after being bailed again. We need to see this working better. When is a youth victim understand that they're a victim of whatever it is? When are they being a pawn? Or when do they actually know that they're working with impunity, that they can get away with these things? These are critical issues. This government has 10 years to get it right. The Productivity Commission talks about how the closing the gap is not working in this state, education, health, children in out-of-home care, First Nations people in the justice system. This bill is a start. It's not good enough, and I ask people to accept our amendments and make this bill better.
Thank you, Ms Bath.